Hello, and welcome to the Bill Memorial Library's first online tutorial for genealogical researchers. My name is Kate Bengtson, and I am a library associate here at the Bill Memorial Library. Today, I'd like to talk to you about navigating historical newspapers and finding all of the treasures within them as you seek to learn more about your family's history. Before we get started, you will need a valid Connecticut library card from your local library, and you will need the 14-digit number on the back of that card in order to access the database we will be working with today. We have a number of objectives we're hoping to achieve as we work through this tutorial. First, we're hoping to develop a general familiarity with the layout of ProQuest. ProQuest is the database of historical newspapers that has been generously provided to us by the Connecticut State Library. It can be accessed on any computer, from your home, on your mobile device, or in your local library, as long as you have a valid Connecticut library card. We're also hoping to develop good search techniques that will help us narrow down our findings within ProQuest so that we can be sure we're finding the ancestor we're looking for. And finally, I truly hope this tutorial helps you understand the important role that newspapers can play in genealogical and local historical research. ProQuest can be found on the Research at Connecticut genealogy page, which can be found by navigating to this URL on this slide. Once you click on the ProQuest button on this page, you'll be asked to type in your 14-digit library barcode number. Once you've done that, you're ready to start searching. Here is the search page for ProQuest historical newspapers, and it specifically searches the Hartford Courant. You can see here that the dates of the Hartford Courant that are available range from 1764 to 1922. This is largely due to privacy concerns for people who are still living. You will not be able to access more recent editions of the Hartford Courant using this database out of respect for privacy, so please be sure to always search for deceased relatives. I'd like to show you now a quick example of using the basic search feature of ProQuest historical newspapers. And I'm going to do this by searching for the benefactor of our little library here in Groton, Frederick Bill. Now I can start by just typing exactly what I'm looking for into the search bar to see what I retrieve. However, I'll quickly see that I've received almost 9,000 results, which is far too many results to reasonably sift through. How can I narrow my result field in order to find information about my ancestor Frederick Bill? I have a couple of different options, depending on what other kinds of information I have. For instance, I know that Frederick Bill founded the Bill Memorial Library around 1890. If I were looking for newspaper articles pertaining to the library's founding, I could search by publication date. This tool here shows me how many articles that I searched for that appear in each of the available date ranges. If I hover over these bars, I can see that between 1850 and 1859, for instance, there were almost 1,500 records published. If I'm only looking for information that was published in 1880, I can use these little sliders to narrow my search field. And by clicking Update, I'll receive 680 results instead of 9,000. This is far more reasonable and will allow me to find my ancestor more quickly and more effectively. Another tip is for narrowing my field within the basic search bar. What I will want to do is add quotation marks to my search Frederick Bill. This is due to the nature of how newspapers are digitized on databases like ProQuest. When newspapers are digitized, they are made machine readable. This means that the computer will actually search for every instance of Frederick and every instance of Bill within the available articles, regardless of the fact of whether or not they appear next to each other in the article. This is why, for instance, I'm receiving Emperor Frederick and his Parliament Bill. That's nowhere near what I'm looking for, but it shows up at the top of my list because the computer is searching for Frederick and Bill separately. By adding quotation marks, I receive much more refined searches. And this second article here gives me a date that I know pertains to my ancestor, 1886, and a town that he lived in. And here he is, Frederick Bill. So this looks like something that I would want to search for. If I want to look at it in more depth, I can open up the full text PDF viewer. This will take me to a digitized view of the article in question, and I can read about how my ancestor Frederick Bill was victimized by one James D. Fish, who wanted to lend him money at an exorbitant interest rate. Here's where the unique nature of local newspapers comes into genealogical research. This newspaper allows me to have a snapshot of what life was like for my ancestor in his community, and paints a very vivid picture of his life that might not be described in other genealogical documents. Here I can learn of a story that would not be told in something like a census record. I can also look at the entirety of the newspaper using this database and find out what was going on in the community around my ancestor. By clicking Page View PDF, I can take a look at the entirety of page 4 of this edition of the Hartford Daily Courant. I can find out that while my ancestor was being victimized by Mr. James D. Fish, there was also an agricultural society meeting in Southington, and that there were goings-on of the Children's Society in Simsbury. These stories help me further understand what life was like for my ancestor, so that I can paint a vivid, rich, and complete picture of my family's history as I seek to complete my genealogical research. This has been a very brief look at what you can hope to find using ProQuest Historical Newspapers database. If you have questions about how to utilize this resource, please stop in to the Bill Memorial Library during our open hours, or head over to our website, www.billmemoriallibrary.org, to find out more about all of the resources available to our patrons and to genealogical researchers like you. Thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for more tutorials on the amazing resources available to you through the Bill Memorial Library.